I think the reality is Democrats sometimes get fearful of fighting for progressive issues, right?
Absolutely.
And so then they
1000%
do
agree.
not develop the messaging, right, to sit there and defend their issues and their policies. And then they get browbeaten and beaten down by Republicans, and they just pivot to something else. And it's like, no, sit there and say, yes, I am for they, them, because I'm for the we, right?
Yes.
Because I believe in bodily autonomy. I believe that the state should not be involved in your lives. I believe that state violence and terror should not be dictated how you move, who you love, how you travel, who you worship. This is what I believe. That's what I'm fighting for. But you don't get that. What you get is somebody talking about biological females. What you get is somebody talking about far left and idiots. And it's like, no, stand on something. Do not let your enemy define you. And if you're going to let your enemy define you, let them talk about all the ways you're fighting for people, so you can sit there and say, I've taken this mantle and I see the most vulnerable and I see the most marginalized, and this is the people we're going to fight for. Instead, you dismantle. And I think about when we had our budget hearings, and the first thing that Casey and Fetterman did was throw away the support for this queer youth center in Philadelphia. I forgot the name of it. It's the William Something Center in Philadelphia, in part because libs of TikTok said, hey, they rented this space out to like this adult BDSM party. And they said, oh my gosh, we can't support that. You threw queer and trans people under the bus the first go around you could. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't understand why queer and trans people are not coming out to vote for us. And well, they don't believe that we're going to fight for them. That's part of the issue, is that we have to have people to stand on it. And luckily there were so many Philadelphia politicians that came out and defended the center. And that's part of the issue that we're dealing with right now, is like, whose lives do we believe need defending in America locally? Whether it is black men. Black men came out and said, please stop calling Trump a felon. There's so many of us who are felons. This messaging is hurting us. This messaging is harming the way we're able to have engagement. And people kept saying the felon. When people were talking about fighting, if you want to say, okay, Kamala's not running to be a black president, okay, cool, but still talk about the issues that are impacting black people, housing, student loan debt. Oh, we're going to let the state decide. These are Republican talking points. Don't adopt Republican talking points and then be upset when Republicans win.
Okay, great. And we will come back to you. I want to come to Treble.
Man, I woke up feeling disappointed.
Yes.
But not surprised at all.
Yes.
I woke up feeling foolish for hoping for another outcome.
Yes.
But I also woke up like, you know what? This is America. What's more American than apple pie? A man who puts himself above the law but promises to enforce it. You know, what's more American than white picket fences? A man who aligns himself with billionaires and corporations and promises to protect their interests. I'm just like, hey, man, this is exactly what America wanted. This, if I'm being completely honest with myself, as much as I would have wanted to be under a Kamala presidency, this president is who represents America the most.
I agree. And I mean, you make such great points about, even like you said, you align with billionaires and corporations, but you say you're going to protect the working class, and like white working class workers voted for Trump in greater numbers that kind of reflected the support that Reagan got from these same unions that he ended up destroying, right? So it will be interesting to see like how that vote cast ends up affecting these individuals that cast these votes. I think that's another conversation. Initial thoughts, Farouk?
Fuck, man. Like, yo, it's just, I mean,
yeah.
So I had something prepared mentally for this.
Yeah.
But I think like just my initial response was, yeah, I expected that. You and I had talked about this before. I forget where. I think we were in the airport or something. We were like, it's looking like Kamala's going to lose Pennsylvania.
Yes.
We said this about a month ago.
Yes.
Right. I don't even know where we were, but we started having that conversation. And at that point, I had already kind of made peace with the fact that she had lost the race.
Right.
And Miracle had kind of laid the groundwork even prior to that, was like, she's going to lose if.
Right.
She doesn't do X, Y, and Z. And it didn't seem like she was interested in listening to Miracle. And really, all the talking points that we had made on the show for months, namely saying the things about like the Republican and the moderate talking points that are,
Right.
going to disenfranchise or disenchant a lot of voters, right? I had constantly said that Trump is Reagan 2.0. And he has, the thing is that for me, it's like, Trump has to be the Antichrist because there's no way that you can convince this many people to vote against their self-interest.
Be careful what you say now about Donald Trump, though, brother.
He has to have some type of pact with like the other side because
it's like,
crazy.
does he have like mind control over
Like,
these
yo, man,
motherfuckers?
he got mind control over Debo. Like when he leave,
Yeah.
I shut up.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But I'll be talking again. But like the final thing I do want to say is this. I am in no way surprised at this verdict because what I believe to be true has been proven time and time again.
Yes.
I will also liken this. We can talk about this later, but my ending statement is this: America hates women so much and black women so much more that they would rather a convicted
Yes.
run the country than be under quote unquote subjugation
Right.
of a woman.
And just for specifics, he wasn't convicted of he was in a civil court of law.
Civil court, right? Yeah. Civil court,
They
yeah.
said that what he did equaled up to rape and sexual assault.
Yeah.
He was convicted of 34 felonies in regards
right.
to
Thank you.
preventing this, porn star who had an affair with his wife from, paying her off so she wouldn't reveal that before the 2016 election.
Yeah.
I think the difference between 2016 election and 2024 election is all the stuff we didn't know about Donald Trump, we knew.
Yes.
Right? We done sat with this tape
And
with
America collectively said that's not a deal breaker.
him. Right.
That's okay with me. That's all he did.
We done sat with this tape of him talking about grabbing him by the. We saw all of his crimes laid out federally. The state crimes. We watched him be
And
convicted.
all he did was call it a witch hunt. And people fell for that shit.
Well, I think this is the thing. I think like when we go to like the strategy of Kamala Harris,
Yeah.
it was a very like they thought they could get these Republican voters.
Yeah.
And they thought like people would vote on morals.
Yeah,
On a moral ground.
When has that ever won an election?
Well, this is the thing. It's not. Well, it has before.
What, 300 years ago? Like
No, because 300 years ago, that was even. Similar. But I think what they failed to realize, and I think we realize when we start talking about it's looking like Kamala's not going to win, is the power of white supremacy and the power of whiteness, because
I had something wrote here.
whiteness stuck together, right, in this race. White men and white women stuck together and they said, we're going to vote for this white man. We're going to choose white. We don't care what his character is. We don't care what his morals are. We don't care what his business acumen is. We don't care that he's 78 years old and showing signs of like some type of dementia and wouldn't even give you his records. We don't care about all of these other things. We're going to stand on the side of whiteness over the others.
Can I read what I had wrote down? It's only
Yes.
2 sentences. I don't believe that we let America down. I believe white supremacy returned to reclaim and resuscitate itself in Washington and nationwide.
Yeah, and so I think that was to me, ultimately the flaw on their campaign was thinking that we're going to get Liz Cheney and we're going to get Karl Rove, and these people are going to convince these other white Republicans that January 6th was a deal breaker. Again, in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh,
Does that mean he about to free up all the men that did?
he said he was going to, but
Them niggas is coming home.
All the text messages I got was, I'm a former 2-time Trump voter. I'm a Trump voter now. I'm with Kamala. And these commercials, it's like,
If that was the case, then
down home white guy. I was a Trump voter, and so no, that did not happen.
it was just like
Yeah.
when all them people came out for the protests in 2020,
Right,
and Trump still won all of them over.
Again, that
Like the
didn't
numbers
happen.
just didn't add up, man.
Right. Black men came out, black women came out, everybody else, everything else was negotiable at that point. And so I will play this. Why are you looking at me? Miracle's looking at me.
That eye roll was
Miracle
side eye.
Miracle walked in the door with
First of all, because
Miracle should have
one I was right.
Miracle should have worn a shirt that said, "I told y'all niggas so."
Listen.
You
one
told
of
us so?
right, but here's the thing. We can't
Get
sit there
off,
and talk
Miracle.
about fascism and pretend like fascism is not already here.
Yes.
We can't sit there and talk about, oh my gosh, people are going to go to jail for saying this or for protesting and organizing when you have protesters facing jail, facing expulsion from college campuses
True.
right now. Somebody was talking about you're surprised that Georgia went red when the Atlanta prosecuted all the Cop City organizers.
Come on.
The people who have been knocking doors you've been calling terrorists for the past like 5 months. So like we can't sit there and be surprised. And then all of this messaging went to Trump voters.
Yes.
All of the money and resources went to Trump voters. The
Yes.
one time where we needed black communities, brown communities to be at the forefront of the messaging, right?
Right.
So we can mobilize people. White, and I said before, I think it was 3 or 4 episodes ago, white Republicans win every single election.
Whether they win or lose.
Whether
yes.
they win or lose,
You're right.
they win every single election because either they benefit from the Democrats' policies that universally will invest in them, or they benefit from the policies that will only benefit them because Republicans exclude all the people that they don't like.
Yes.
So no matter what, Republicans are going to come out. And so it is going to be up to the progressives, the people who feel like they have been radically disenfranchised, to be radically included. And when you exclude all of these organizations,
Absolutely.
and I may be breaking the
And it wasn't even radically included. They weren't included at all.
Thank you. And I may be breaking the fourth wall here, but progressive organizations were asked to withdraw endorsements for some candidates. They were told not to share information from some candidates. Some candidates were like, please don't come to my events. We don't want to be seen with Palestinians. We don't want to be seen with Muslims right now. We don't want to be seen with anyone who's been protesting right now, right? So this was all across the country. This stuff was happening. So now we're supposed to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked. One of the things, I was talking with somebody and they said, how can I tell my community that Trump is a racist bigot when he has all these imams and Muslim leaders who are already Republicans on stage at his rally in Michigan, and there is no comparison that Kamala has right now. There is no photo that she publicly has with Muslims and imams, even the people who have endorsed her in Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. Where is that comparison? People talk about Trump. Trump played the media. He understands the snippets. He was on all these podcasters, all these Twitch, not because he actually values what they say,
right?
Because he understood that he was getting this male vote, right? He understood that he was talking to people, so he would invite them out but talk about the policies. Kamala was like, no, we're not doing that one. That one's too liberal. That one's too progressive. Why did you not sit down with Hassan? Why did you not sit down with a lot of these liberal and have conversations, even if it was like, we don't agree on that?
Why did you sit down with Jasiri?
Why
did you do that?
Why not, right? Because this is the thing. It's like, it is hard to, and I was talking to people who've been organizing all these folks, and they were like, we could not get conversations.
True.
Like we could, and and I remember when Rawa she's a Palestinian, she won. She said, I have nothing to go back to my community for. And when we look at Rashida Tlaib, she won 77%. And the majority of her district did not vote for Harris, right? And what would have been like if she sat down with Rashida publicly and had a conversation about this, right? We don't agree, we don't get along about these things, but tell me what your community is going through, and let me tell you how all the other ways I can help.
Yeah,
wouldn't do it, and so like we are over here talking about like, oh my God, we're so shocked, but like, where did you see her talking publicly with trans people? Remember we said this felon thing, put her in a room with people who are all returning citizens. All these things.
Well, she went to a couple of barbershops, I think, in
the
weekend before the election. I don't know.